This module will provide an introduction to the InfoArchive financial services offering and explain how to position InfoArchive within financial services customers. In terms of sales revenue and numbers of customers, financial services is the #1 vertical for InfoArchive. There are two reasons for this. First, InfoArchive is a compliant archive, and financial services is highly regulated, with many different regulatory bodies around the world, each defining rules and regulations for FS organizations. As a result, large numbers of regulations are produced, often specific to certain geographies, making implementation complex. To compound this, since the crash of 2008, regulators are enforcing compliance more strictly, and where fault is found, imposing significant fines. Significant meaning tens or hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars. Compliance has therefore become a high priority for financial services organizations, especially over the past 3 or 4 years. InfoArchive enables regulatory compliance for financial services organizations. Second, InfoArchive offers a true enterprise-scale solution. Financial services companies generate huge volumes of information, both data and content, as they transact their business. This ranges from customer information to details of trades and transactions. Large banking groups generate petabytes of data each year, and a large percentage of this must be retained for compliance and reporting purposes. InfoArchive provides a cost-effective way of retaining and managing this data and content. InfoArchive was originally developed as a result of requests from large financial services customers to address new compliance and information retention needs. Two primary requirements have driven the product development. The first was U.S. banks seeking to decommission large numbers of duplicated applications resulting from mergers and acquisitions of failed banks following the crash of 2008. The FDIC imposed strict regulations on the retention of information following this M&A activity, and InfoArchive was developed to enable rapid decommissioning of applications while ensuring information was able to be retained and remain accessible to users and regulators. Secondly, in EMEA, new European Union regulations required financial services companies to retain more information, and in parallel, companies faced increased IT as a result of application data growth. This forced companies to seek more efficient ways to manage retention of application data and content, as well as control application data growth. InfoArchive provided a low-cost information management platform that was capable of storing large volumes of information and managing complex data and content retention policies. The result is that today InfoArchive is used by a large number of financial services companies across the US, EMEA, and Asia-Pacific regions. Typically, it's used to support IT and compliance initiatives, managing large volumes of data and content, as well as ensuring regulatory compliance. So what are you likely to find when you engage with financial services customers to position InfoArchive? The first thing you'll discover is that all companies will have an existing compliance and archive solution. In fact, it's almost certain that they'll have multiple solutions that have been implemented over a number of years to address specific tactical needs. You can also expect to find a focus on addressing compliance around unstructured content, often through the deployment of ECM systems such as IBM FileNet. It's likely that structured data record retention will have been addressed through the adoption of backup as an archive. Nearly all companies now recognize that this does not satisfy the regulators, and so they'll be looking for a new solution to address this requirement. As a result of the huge fines that have been levied against financial services companies over the past few years, you should find companies making or planning new investments to ensure compliance, with special emphasis on new regulations such as Dodd-Frank and MiFID. Companies are recognizing the need for a more holistic approach that enables the compliant management of both unstructured content and structured data records. Many organizations are now investigating the adoption of a surveillance approach to compliance. Rather than waiting for a problem to be identified through an audit or regulatory discovery request, companies are seeking to identify problems as they happen and correct them before fines are imposed. Many are looking at the monitoring in real time of communications information as a first step to identifying potential compliance issues. Almost every customer will be seeking to reduce IT costs. This can be through application rationalization and decommissioning, or through minimizing the costs of meeting compliance obligations, especially the retention costs of large volumes of information. Many companies are looking to the cloud to store data, or they're using technologies such as Hadoop, which they believe offer a lower cost of data management. In order to provide clarity for customers, we've created an InfoArchive offering for financial services which has 3 elements that focus on particular needs. It's important to understand that this offering is based on generic InfoArchive and doesn't include any financial services specific elements. This may change, but today the offering simply presents core product capability in the context of the financial services industry. First, compliant application decommissioning. This supports the decommissioning and retention of data and content from any financial services application. Next, regulatory record compliance enables compliant management of data and content to meet the demands of industry regulations. And lastly, e-communications compliance, a module that will be launched in 2017. This focuses on monitoring communications data of all kinds and archiving data to meet compliance regulations. Additionally, functionality will be included to enable information stored in InfoArchive that's required for e-discovery programs. This would typically be collected and exported as a package for review by legal teams. Compliant application decommissioning addresses the generic problem most large organizations have today: large numbers of replicated and read-only applications holding important information but draining significant IT budget to keep them running. Most financial services organizations have been involved in mergers and acquisitions over the past 10 years, and many have large numbers of applications containing hundreds of terabytes of information. This information must be retained and make sure that access is assured for regulators. Remember to seek to align the application decommissioning program to a strategic business or IT program to give you the best chance of success. Customers that have decommissioned applications include US Bank, Compass BBVA, Societe Generale, and Bank of Montreal. The best example of application decommissioning in the financial services space is the Bank of Montreal. Their decommissioning program began with retiring a single application, which they were able to complete in 12 weeks and which resulted in annual savings of $3.8 million. The total program covered over 80 other applications. Regulatory record compliance uses the active archiving use case to move or copy data and content records from applications to InfoArchive, where they're automatically assigned compliance policies and managed until final disposition. As we've already highlighted, there's a huge demand for compliance solutions. Customers are seeking products that can manage structured data records as well as unstructured content records. The ability to manage policies at the level of individual records and support very large volumes of data has become increasingly important. InfoArchive satisfies all of these requirements and offers a comprehensive set of compliance features that allows customers to configure a solution to meet their individual needs. In addition to ensuring the correct alignment to strategic programs, it's essential that IT and the records management, risk, and compliance departments are connected and aligned. This is to ensure the full functional requirements for any solution are going to be understood and agreed upon. There's a risk that if IT ignores or underestimates the importance of compliance needs, especially when defining requirements, this may result in a focus on an infrastructure archiving-based solution rather than an application-oriented solution as offered by InfoArchive. Customers such as American Express, Crédit Agricole, and Société Générale use InfoArchive to ensure regulatory compliance. Société Générale is a great example of how financial services customers are using InfoArchive to meet their regulatory obligations. They began using InfoArchive to retain content records from 4 or 5 applications, including invoices and customer statements. Over time, more than 85 additional data and content streams have been added. This includes SEPA payment records and various financial records. Today, there are now over 90 data streams archiving over 16 million data and content records every day to InfoArchive. The information managed by InfoArchive is not old, stale information. It's being accessed every day by both employees of the bank and their customers. On average, 60,000 searches are made on InfoArchive each and every day. The e-communications compliance module is new to InfoArchive and will be launched in 2017. Look out for announcements and training on this module in the future. In summary, financial services presents a huge opportunity for InfoArchive, so prioritize these accounts in your sales plans. Don't expect a customer to present a greenfield opportunity with no incumbent solutions. Customers will most likely have several existing solutions in place, so you'll need to be able to differentiate InfoArchive from their existing products. Data record compliance is something most customers are looking for today, following the realization that backup as an archive is not a viable solution. Make inquiries asking how structured data retention is being managed today. Ensuring correct alignment between IT and the compliance and records management teams is critical. Failure to do so can result in competing with storage tiering appliances or file stubbing technologies which deliver limited value and no compliance. Make sure that the customer understands that InfoArchive offers a holistic solution that meets all enterprise-compliant archiving requirements with one product. This concludes this module. Thank you for your time and attention.